you've all heard of DNA, and you understand that DNA is the recipe for life. DNA tells us who we are. DNA is the component of your genes. It tells you if you have blue eyes or brown eyes, if you have blonde hair or brown hair, if you're right-handed or if you're left-handed. In this lesson, I will begin by presenting the basic structure of DNA to you. We will then work together to build a piece of DNA. We will build the structure of DNA on a piece of paper together. And then you will work in groups with a partner to build a structure of DNA on a piece of paper. And finally, you will do this by yourself. And by listening to this presentation and performing these activities, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the structure of a nucleotide and DNA. A nucleotide is just the basic structure of DNA. You will be able to explain complementary base pairing. And base pairs are basically the components of the nucleotide that are the ingredients for the recipe of life that's in DNA. It's this arrangement of base pairs that tells you who you are. You will be able to explain that the double helix of DNA is made out of many nucleotides. You will also be able to explain how the strands of DNA, there are two strands of DNA, complementary base pairs, and you will be able to explain how these two strands are complementary based upon 5' and 3' ends. And when I say 5' and 3' ends, that's just referring to the chemical structure of DNA, which I will explain shortly. DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribo is referring to deoxyribose sugar, and nucleic acid is referring to the complementary base pairs, which we'll discuss in a moment. I imagine you've all seen this helical structure before. This is the structure of DNA that is present on our genes, which is on our chromosomes, that is in all of the nuclei of our cells. The nucleus is just the powerhouse of every cell in our body. This was first described by Watson and Crick in the 1950s, and since then we know that DNA is shaped like a helix. In order to understand the basic structure of DNA, we can untwist this double helix, and it looks kind of like a ladder. So you have one strand of DNA here with a 5' end, which I'll explain in a moment. We have a complementary strand of DNA on the other side with a 3' end here. So let's look at one complementary strand of DNA. This is what I have drawn here. Here is one complementary strand of DNA with a 5' end here and a 3' end here. Each strand of DNA has nucleotides here. And the nucleotide is the basic structure of DNA. In the nucleotide, we have a phosphate group, a deoxyribose sugar, and a nitrogenous base. To understand what I mean when I say 5' end, I will explain to you in more detail what a deoxyribose sugar is. Now, it looks like a house. I've drawn it here. And this is drawn like a house because chemists like to use shorthand when they talk about all the chemicals and molecules that they're studying. So, for example, in this deoxyribose sugar, which makes up DNA, in each sugar there are 5 carbons, 10 hydrogens, and 4 oxygens. This is the chemical formula for the deoxyribose sugar. Its chemical structure is how the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens are arranged. And the reason why they use this house notation is because they don't want to have to write all the little details out. And they know that at each of these points here, there's a carbon. So for example, there's one carbon here, there's carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, and carbon 5. And when the house is pointing upward like this, the carbon 5 has a phosphate group attached to it here. And the carbon 3 at the bottom has a phosphate group attached to it. And here I've just written a P for shorthand for phosphate group. But again, that's just short for this molecule, which has 1 phosphorus and 4 oxygens. So, when we talk about the 5' end of DNA, what we mean is that all these deoxyribose sugars are oriented to the house in the right direction, upward. So that over here, there's a phosphate attached to carbon 5 for each one of these nucleotides. side, however, of the DNA, it says there's 3' end here. So what that means is the deoxyribose sugar is upside down. So the house is upside down, and whenever it says 3' end here, what it means is on the top, the carbon 3, the third carbon, is attached to the phosphate group, and the fifth carbon is at the bottom. So that is what we're talking about when we say complementary base pairing. That's what we're talking about when we say that one strand of DNA is complementary to the other. It's referring to the fact that on this strand of DNA, all of the deoxyribose houses are pointing upward, whereas on this side, they're all pointing downward. Now, each deoxyribose sugar is then joined to a nitrogenous base. And now I would like to explain about the base pairing of DNA that's also complementary. The base and the arrangement of the base, of one base with another, the pairing that occurs, is why we are who we are. It's this basic arrangement of base pairs that provides the recipe for who we are. There are two types of nitrogenous bases that make up the DNA. One type of nitrogenous base is called a purine. And I've drawn the double wing structure of a purine here. And earlier I explained about the shorthand chemists use, and that's what this is. This is a shorthand. There's carbon and nitrogen in this chemical formula. They've just abbreviated as a ring structure here. So we know here, for example, there are 5 carbons, and here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons on this ring structure. And there's always 2 together in a purine. Pyrimidines, on the other hand, have a single ring structure of carbon. Base pairing of the DNA always involves a purine joined to a pyrimidine. And in particular, adenine always lines with thymine, and cytosine always lines with guanine. The 2 purines that are present in DNA are adenine and guanine. So these are the 2 bases that have a double ring structure. The 2 pyrimidines in DNA are cytosine and thymine, and they always have a single ring structure. But in particular, adenine always pairs with thymine, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. So it's this arrangement of base pairs with a rule that A always pairs with T and C always pairs with G that makes us who we are. And in a moment, I will be showing you, we'll be working together to build a structure of DNA. What we will do is we will have a phosphate group, a deoxyribose sugar, and a base. And together we will decide what the complementary base should be on the other side. And by doing this, you will understand the basic structure of DNA. So this is the DNA structure that I told you that we would build together. Earlier, I explained how that one strand of DNA here is complementary to another strand of DNA. And it's complementary in its arrangement of the deoxyribose sugar, as well as each base pair and how it pairs to another one. So here in this diagram, you'll remember that this is called a what? You can tell me what this is called.
Phosphate.
That's right, Michael. It's a phosphate group. And what is this right here? Is it what is?
Carbon?
Is the carbon, right? So it's the carbon structure. It's the
Yeah, it's
deoxyribose sugar.
The deoxyribose.
And what is it attached to?
A base.
That's right. So this entire structure here
The nuclear.
is a nucleotide. Very good.
Nucleotide.
So, and the nucleotide here is complementary to the nucleotide here. Okay. So that's what we talk when we say that one strand of DNA is complementary to another. We are referring to the carbon structure as well as the actual base carbon. That's correct. Now, just as a review, when we talked about the sugar, the deoxyribose sugar, we talked about its carbon structure. And and we talked about how this house here is an abbreviation for how that chemists use when they refer to different molecules. So, who can tell me, Emily or Michael, can you tell me what end this is and why it is this end? Like, when we talk about the DNA strand, what do we call this end?
This is the 5' end.
This is the 5' end. Why is this the 5' end?
Because the house is the right way around.
It's pointing upward, yeah.
Yes, pointing upward, and the 5th carbon is pointing to the phosphate.
So the 5th carbon is attached to the phosphate, and the phosphate is at this end.
Yes.
So we can say, here's carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, and carbon 5. And at this end, this phosphate group is attached to the 5th carbon. So we call this the 5' end. Now at the bottom, what is this end called?
The 3'.
Why is it called the 3' end?
Because carbon 3, or the 3rd carbon, is attached to the phosphate.
Right, so you could also say it the other way around. You could say that the phosphate group is attached to the 3rd carbon. The phosphate group at the very end is attached to the 3rd carbon. The phosphate group at the very end is attached to the 3rd carbon. Now, on the complementary strand of DNA on the other side, what is this end called and why?
This is called the 3' end.
Yes. And why is it called?
Because the carbon structure is upside down, and because carbon 3 is connected to the phosphate.
Good. So we can say, can you phrase it from the point of view of the phosphate group?
Phosphate is connected to the 3rd carbon.
Right, so the very last phosphate group in this strand is attached to carbon 3. Now what about at the bottom of this strand that's complementary to the other? What would you define this end as?
The 5'.
Why is it called a 5' end?
Because the phosphate is connected to the 5th carbon.
Awesome, that's perfect, thank you. Okay, that's correct. So basically you can see that this strand of DNA is kind of like this, right? Now, who can tell me, Emily, can you tell me the rule for base pairing?
A and T go together, and C and G go together.
That's right. So Grace, in this example here, if we have an A base here, what base would go here?
T.
That's correct. So this is one base pair, and I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but this is joined by hydrogens here. So hydrogen bonds are bonding with A and T together. Now, who can tell me, Michael, this is G stands for what?
Guanine.
And it binds to what?
To cytosine.
That's right. So we write a C here. Now, in the next set of base pairs, we have T. Who can tell me what T stands for? Emily? Yes? What does T stand for?
Thymine.
Thymine? Yes. And what does thymine bind to? What does it bonds with, and these are hydrogen bonds here. So what is the thymine bonded to with hydrogen bonds? What does it bond?
Adenine.
Adenine. That's right. Very good. Now we have another example here. We have cytosine. What does it go with? Grace, do you know what letter it goes with? The C? That's right. G for Grace or G for?
Guanine.
Michael, thank you. It's G for guanine. Very good. Now, and we have another base pair here. We have, again, this is one nucleotide, this is another. And the base for T is, what is T short for?
Thymine.
That's right, Emily, thymine. What does thymine bind to?
Adenine.
Adenine. Very good. And they bind together with hydrogen bonds. Now, in this example here, we have G. What is G short for?
Guanine.
That's right, Emily, guanine. And what does guanine bind to?
Cytosine.
Cytosine. And so we're going to write a C here to represent this. This is called, who can tell me what this is called together? Michael?
A base pair.
That's right. Now, we have two more base pairs that we need to solve for. We know this is adenine. What goes on the other side, Grace? What letter?
T.
That's right. And Emily, what does T stand for?
Cytosine.
Cytosine. And Michael, what does C bind? What does cytosine always bind?
Guanine.
That's right, guanine. So when we talk about DNA, we're talking about, and we say that it's a complementary, that the two strands of DNA are complementary. We are referring to the fact that there's a 5 carbon, there's a 5' end here, but on the other side, it's a 3' end. As well as the fact that the base pairs are complementary. Adenine always pairs with thymine, and guanine always pairs with cytosine. Does any? Okay, Emily and Michael, what you have before you is the basic components of DNA. Emily, can you hold up the backbone piece? Do you see that one? Yeah, so do you know what each backbone represents? Each backbone represents a strand of the DNA, okay? So you're going to make a DNA using this as the backbone. And Michael, do you see the sugars? These are the deoxyribose sugars. Do you see those? Yes, so you're going to use those. And you have to point them in the right direction, right? Depending on if it's a 5' or 3' strand. And these are going to attach to the phosphates. And you can see that you have several bases. You have several adenines, thymines, cytosines, and guanines. And you need to make your DNA structure using these base pairs. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, have fun. Okay, now that you've cut out the components of your DNA structure, you can go ahead and get started. Maybe you can discuss how you're going to do this, and don't forget to mark the different ends of your backbone.
Okay. Hey Emily, let's put the 2 phosphate, the 2 DNA strands together, and maybe why don't you do the 5'? You design the 5', and I can design the 3'. Okay? So I think let's do like 4 or 5 phosphates on each strand. Do you think that's a good idea? Just for this example. So put the phosphates like that, right? So we'll put the 5 phosphates like that. Okay? The green phosphates. That's the blue phosphate. Okay? Let's put them opposite each other, right? Because they're a pair, right? They're a complementary pair. Okay. So yours is the 5', right? So then how does the 5' look like? Yeah,
The sugar goes up.
the sugar goes up and my sugar goes down, right? Because mine is upside down, right? So what is your sugar? Which carbon is connected to the phosphate in this example here, in the 5'?
The 5th.
The 5th carbon. Okay. So mine is going down like this. My sugar is going down, right? My sugars are from Australia. Okay. So there's the sugars, all right? So now, so yours is the. Let's mark it down. So yours is the 5'. Can't wait. No. Okay. Mine is the 3'. Where's your? Do you have a 3'? Where's your 3?
It's
At the bottom. Your 3' is here. Mine is here. Mine is the 5' here. Okay. Now what do we have to do? Now let's do the base. We have to do the base pair, right?
Should we start
Yeah. Let's do the A. And what connects to the A?
T?
The T. Here's a T. Okay, that's the T connects to that, right? Oh, it goes in together. Good job. So now what else?
What's
Okay, we'll try a G. And what's C? C connects to the G. Okay, so what connects to the G?
the C?
The C. Okay, what should we do next?
And
Will we try a T this time? A T. Okay, and what connects to that? An A. Okay, good job. Now we try a C. We try a C, yeah? Here's a C. What connects to a C, Emily?
the G.
A G. This is a G. Do you know what a G stands for?
Like the blue.
Guamine. Guamine. Okay. Emily, what you do next then?
An A.
Good job. So tell me, it's my turn. Now I ask what connects to an A? A T. A T is, I don't remember. Do you remember what a T is? Thymine. Very good. You're very good. Okay, good job. So now we have a DNA structure, I believe, right? Ta-da! It's a DNA. Do you want to come and look?
So Emily, would you like to explain the structure of DNA that you made?
So this is our DNA structure, and the top of this side is the 5' end, and the bottom is the 3' end, and for this side, the top is the 5' end, and the bottom, the top is the 3' end, and the bottom is the 5' end, because the sugars are facing down, and for this one, it's because the sugars are facing up. And if you look in the middle, you can see that the A's go with T, and the G's go with C.
So, thank you. It looks like you really understand the basic structure of DNA. Now that I have presented the basic structure of DNA to you, we have worked together to build a structure of DNA, and you have worked in groups together to build a structure of DNA. You should now be able to build the structure alone, on your own. So you have a little quiz there whereby you will be building a structure of DNA. Michael, now that you're finished with your quiz, can you please explain about what you did and the basic structure of DNA?
Okay, yes. So we've basically got two complementary strands of DNA, okay? And then we have the top of this is the 5', and the bottom is the 3'. And the complementary DNA strand to that is a 3', and then the 5' is in the bottom. That's because you can see this is the 5' end. It's the right way around, the sugar, whereas on the 3' end, the sugar is upside down. Okay? And attached to each sugar is a phosphate. So I showed the phosphate, and each of these is a sugar. Connected to the sugar then is the base pair. And so a base pair, an A connects with a T, and a G connects with a C. And that's my DNA structure.
Thank you. Emily, now that we've had a lecture on DNA structure and you've worked together and you've worked in groups to understand DNA structure, do you think you can explain on your own the basic structure of DNA that you built in your quiz?
So this is my structure, and on this side, the top is the 5' end, and the bottom is the 3' end, and on this side, the top is the 3' end, and the bottom is the 5' end, and then you can see there's the sugars, and then there's the C and G, and the A and T, and G and C, T and A, C and J, C and G again, because the C's go with G's, A's go with T's.
That's great, thank you. So these are the two complementary strands of DNA, and this is the basic structure of the DNA. Thank you very much.